right, good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, June 13th, 2016, and this is Before the First Cup of Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Monday, everyone. It is 55 degrees and very overcast here in upstate New York. Looked like it was raining maybe about an hour ago. I must have missed that one. I was still snoozing. I want to apologize to everyone. It's been a real hectic last few weeks here, probably last month. I don't know, maybe the last few years, but especially the last few weeks. It's just been like my head is in a blender. I've had so many things to do and so many places to go, and school's finishing here in about a week, and it's just been insanity. So anyone who has sent me a message and I have not been able to respond yet, please don't take it personally. I will get there. Yesterday was slated for that, and then yesterday turned into a 20-hour day before I finally passed out and got 6 hours of sleep. I'm about ready to go back to bed. So I will try today after I get the shows cut for tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow I have no show cutting to do. My one day where I can just do something other than cutting shows. So where do we leave off? On Friday, Thursday, we titled the show Transgenic Edibles, Bioterror, Farming with a PH, and that is an official term, and Dr. Artston. And we had spent the last, I don't know, I've lost track now, probably done the last month looking at gut bacteria and its influence on the body, on the brain, GMO food, and genetic manipulation of the food, some of the things that they can do with that, some of the dangers of glyphosate, the direct connect between the gut and the brain, and lastly but not leastly, Dr. Arnston and all of his research and successes in making edible vaccines. And we discovered very quickly, and disturbingly so, that the genetically modified foods, and I think I closed, I tried to keep everything open while I was gone this weekend, and it didn't quite work out for me. And I just closed. Oh, wait. Recently closed. I'm in the right browser. Maybe I can get this open. I just closed a few of the tabs I had open on Friday. Looking at the potato vaccine, here's one thing we learned about the potato vaccine after the show. And, don't go. After the show on Thursday, is that you can't cook potatoes. So you were right, SLC. They had to be raw potatoes. But they could make raw potato chips and have it include a vaccine. But once you put them into hot oil, it actually started to degrade any of the substances that they wanted to be activated as a drug. But here's something interesting I found. Plants used for edible vaccines, and I'm sorry, my allergies are going completely off the rails today. I got wisteria right outside the door and clematis around the corner. And as soon as I got back here yesterday, my nose started to go crazy. Plants used for edible vaccines, tobacco, which we looked at that. That was how they were doing the Ebola vaccine. And now they're working on that new universal flu vaccine. Number 2, potato. Number 3, banana, and we read all about the banana. That was Dr. Artston's first foray into edible vaccines to be able to feed little babies in third world countries without having to cook it. Number 4, tomato. Who knows? I don't know. I saw a bunch of different stories where they were experimenting with tomato, but tomato didn't work out too well. And it was interesting, too. We found the Flavor Saver tomato was slipped into the food supply in the early to mid-90s and then removed again. But I'm certain that is what gave me a really bad allergic reaction. And who really knows what was in it? We found in a wiki entry that one of the European pharmaceutical companies had actually used a technique very similar to how they made the Flavor Saver tomato, which you don't really hear exactly how they made that. And then they had released it in the UK as a tomato paste. And I guess that was their first GMO on the market. But they had like their whole government involved when they gave that approval, which again, if we had a real country, maybe our whole government would be involved in approving GMOs on a case by case basis, making sure that every ingredient was safe, testing it over multiple 30, 40 generations. I don't know. They just don't test anything anymore. It's just rubber stamped. Anyway, number 5, this isn't where I want to be today, so let's just get through this list. Number 5, rice. Rice is a big one. Yuki, at one of the Japanese universities, was working on that rice vaccine. Lettuce, yeah, that's huge. That is going on right now at the University of Pennsylvania. And there were all kinds of vaccines that they were thinking about putting in rice. Soybeans and alfalfa, interestingly enough, those are 2 that are already GMO, and they are out there on the market for farm animals. Soybean happens to be what Dr. Huber had sent the letter to Tommy Vilsack, the head of the USDA, to say, hey, you can't put GMO soybeans on the market because look at all the damage and all the premature births, the stillbirth abortions, the low birth rates that we are having in the livestock that are already eating the GMO alfalfa. So it's just seeming odd to me that all these foods that they've GMO'd that, have made it into the marketplace here, there, everywhere, happen to also be the same exact foods that they've been tinkering with for edible vaccines. And I mean, we look, the technology is exactly the same. That's all they got to do is cut and paste, snip, snip, put it in. They could make any type of vaccine that they wanted. And I don't have the stories in front of me, and it's early and it's Monday, but go back a couple days to where we talked about Dr. Artston. We read all those stories. They went through all the different things and what they were doing to them. Number 9, musk melon. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's some sort of melon, of course. This one surprised me. Number 10, carrot. When have we had GMO carrots? I haven't seen GMO carrots, but buy organic, people, because who the hell knows? See, now that's a biggie, too. You can put carrots in anything, and you can grind them up. I like to use carrots in lots of stuff because they have a little bit of a sweet flavor. Kids love them. Full of vitamin A. Remember, that was what the GMO banana was all about that they're pushing right now. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation testing that $900 banana. Here, unknowing college student, let me give you $900 to test this genetically modified banana that has never been tested on humans before, but we're going to test it on college students in Iowa. How frightening is that? But, bananas are easy because they're sweet and babies can take them, but carrots are even easier. We could make carrot cake vaccines if we had carrot edible vaccines. How weird is that? Peanuts. That's another one that'll get every single football watcher. And if they didn't get you in your peanuts, well, why don't you have a wheat beer with that? Because they've used wheat to make edible vaccines as well. And lastly, but not leastly, of course, our best friend in the GMO market, corn. All right, let's read these in a list. Tobacco, potato, banana, tomato, rice, lettuce, soybean, alfalfa, muskmelon, carrot, peanuts, wheat, and corn. Now that's insanity. And if you can even believe it, that's just the beginning. So we have all this CRISPRing stuff going on now. It's making a whole hell of a lot easier to genetically modify things. We could just use a little bit of snip and insert things in it. We read a story actually on Friday, or maybe we didn't. It's a story out of the year 2000, potato vaccine against hepatitis B. And I think we did read this. They mention again Charles Artston, Dr. Artston. No, we didn't, because I know it surprised me. They were doing work with some colleagues in New York State. And I saw a couple of the universities, Cornell being one, up here in New York, was participating in making a lot of this edible stuff, which might explain why they are so friendly with companies such as Oxitec. If you remember, New York and Governor Cuomo were the first ones to give Oxitec the green light to release those genetically modified moths in the United States. And to our knowledge, at least publicly, those moths were the first GMO insects that were given approval. Now, there was never an environmental impact statement done, and the farmers were pissed because they let them go right next to an organic farm. But hey, organic schmorganic. No one will tell anyone that the genetically modified diamondback moths laid eggs on your organic cabbage. You can keep your designation. It's frightening. I mean, I don't know if that's what they did, but I know the organic farmers were crying. And how would you know if a genetically modified moth landed on your cabbage? Peel off the top two leaves. Who's going to ever know? But it's frightening. They have let these genies out of the bottle. One of the big concerns I was seeing that they're saying, oh, no, we discontinued making edible vaccines now quite a number of years ago. And one of the reasons for that was because there was such a great concern that some of this might get out and contaminate the food supply. And then you wouldn't know if you were eating edible vaccines or regular food. Well, no kidding, Sherlock. What do you think? But I mean, it's not just about edible vaccines. It's about GMO in general. All of it. I'm seeing, too, that edible vaccine in alfalfa was to battle foot and mouth disease in agricultural animals. How interesting. They had a big outbreak of that in the UK back a few years ago. Norwalk virus and hepatitis B in potato. Cholera in potato as well as E. coli. And they were using tomatoes. That's what it was. They were testing it with an edible rabies virus. All right, so now that I have horrified you and made you think about looking at the labels on your food, pay attention to where it's coming from. I tell you, I don't think I would trust much of anything anymore that doesn't have some sort of organic label on it. And I am not even sure if I fully trust organic. But like I said the other day, it's probably the best we have right at this point in time. But I'd like to change gears just a little bit here, at least for today. And then, I don't know, when I get all my bookmarks cleaned up, we'll figure out what will make the right turn. But talking about all of the GMO and the edible vaccines and being able to manipulate your body and looking at the gut bacteria and the direct connect to your brain and how it can influence your moods, and they can literally influence your brain chemicals. There were some disturbing things I found on Friday, and I want to really start off here looking at Obama's precision medicine initiative. We talked about that so many times. That was at the beginning of last year, January 30th, 2015. Obama announced the initiative building on the president's announcement in his State of the Union address. Today, the administration unveiled details about the Precision Medicine Initiative. And remember, Obama came out and said this is going to be the new 21st century economy. Okay, he sold us, guys. He sold us to Big Pharma. Lock, stock, and barrel is what this was all about. This is a bold new research effort to revolutionize how we improve health and treat disease. Launched with $215 million investment in the president's 2016 budget, the Precision Medicine Initiative will pioneer a new model of patient-powered research that promises to accelerate biomedical discoveries and provide clinicians with new tools, knowledge, and therapies to select which treatments work best for the patients. Now, we've dug a lot into precision medicine over the last year or two, and one of the things that we discovered is that this really is the engine now for being able to spread all kinds of tax dollars on turning you into a guinea pig. He's been sprinkling money into all kinds of things, Brain Project, electronic health records, and let's get it all online. Because little Johnny, little Johnny needs to go into the database. And what? Oh, 21st Century CARES Act. Yes. If you have a disease, that makes you desperate and dying. We don't even need the pesky FDA to approve any of these newfangled treatments that we sprinkle funded with some of our DARPA dollars at the universities. To test it on people, all we need is somebody who is ready, willing, and able to step up and be the guinea pig. And you know what? Then if it turns out okay, we'll write a case study about you and we will fast track it. And that's actually what they're doing. You see that everywhere. Now, the scary part of the matter is Obama's now announced his microbiome initiative. And right, we all know about the microbiome. The microbiome is inclusive of your bacteria and your 5 systems in your body. There are 5 bacterial colonies that live in your body and work and live in harmony. Your gut bacteria in particular, because of that direct connect to the brain, can be utilized to manipulate you. And you have companies now like spun out of MIT, Synlogics, Synthetic Biotics, gut bacteria company, funded partially by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. MIT, of course, is a pit of lizards to boot. But what do you think that they're going to do with synthetic gut bacteria? Well, they want to use it as living therapeutics, they said. They want to get it into your body, and they want to program, because yes, at MIT, they are programming cells like little molecular machines. We actually did some stories on that as well. They can make these things go in and make any changes to you they want. And if you remember back last week, we talked about that shape-shifting immune system that they're developing, and there's not 3 but 4 different stories that we saw in that in 1 week, all made with synthetic DNA. And oh, by the way, they want to create a synthetic genome for humans as well. You know, don't think that all this research that we've been reading since the late 70s, early 80s, and then on the market without us knowing in the early 90s with GMO foods and our food supply that nobody told us about, and then edible vaccines in those same GMO foods that no one told us about. Don't think that researchers didn't get bored, because I think they did. We've already dealt with all the plants. We messed with the animals, too, to see what would happen. We got the insects in a nice big DNA database, and we're mixing all kinds of insect protein into things. Humans are next. Humans are next. And even though it was always considered unethical, under the name of 21st century medicine, Johnny, to keep you safe and help you live forever, that's the dangling, poisoned, edible vaccine carrot that they've been stringing out in front of you, is to have longevity and be able to live forever and be like Star Trek world. To do that, Johnny, all you got to do is understand the promise of precision medicine and us being able to bag, tag, and track you at a cellular and even a DNA level, at a gut bacteria level. And then what happened was all the tech companies got involved because, you know, they're all rich and they all want to live forever and they all want to control things. So they're dumping billions of dollars into all kinds of projects. And in the beginning, they were kind of independently funded off to the side. Now we're seeing like this big conglomerate of Google working with the feds and Gates working with the feds and Elon Musk now working with the feds. I just saw Elon Musk has agreed. And I got to tell you, out of all of them, I like Elon Musk, but, you know, don't let somebody who talks a good story woo you into believing their vision, because I already did that once with Mr. Billy Gates. And after that, it was our soon to not be president anymore, thank goodness. So who knows? I mean, from the frying pan into the fire, but, you know, don't get bamboozled again. And I sometimes get bamboozled with Musk because he talks a good story, but I just saw the other day he was meeting with Obama. And DARPA back a while ago had been talking about, you know, the super soldier and kind of one of the interim steps. Because, again, they were the ones who originally were talking about, you know, brain implants and being able to manipulate the brain chemicals for the soldiers on the field. being able to make them superhuman, being able to make androids or bots that can think with artificial intelligence. Don't think, DARPA's been real quiet here, and it's only because I haven't been hitting the DARPA feed, but I will. We've been more into biologics here over the last month or so. But I got robot stories lining up waiting. But DARPA talked about wanting to make that Iron Man suit for soldiers. It's got all kinds of biometrics in it. We already saw that with Under Armour partnering with IBM and IBM's Watson artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, where they could have real-time stats on whoever is wearing it. Well, I just saw, there's a clip. That was already, again, probably a year ago. Pigmine had it talking, it was Obama talking about maybe creating Iron Man. And now, just over the last few days, Elon Musk met with him and has announced that he's going to be creating the Iron Man suit. And he's giving us lectures on how we're going to populate Mars or have the first people on Mars in the next 9 years. So, again, another tech billionaire, and he's working, he leased one of NASA's old buildings for SpaceX, and NASA was allowing him to use their facilities, and they were sharing research. So Musk, again, another tech billionaire, pulled right into the fold. You saw with the self-driving car, the Tesla, his goes one step further, that not only will it record if you have an accident, but it'll report you too. It'll talk to the other cars, and they'll all blow you in that it was you. It was you. That's going to happen anyway, and I don't think I'd blame that just on Musk, but just surprising. He is in the forefront of a lot of this. I really, really thought even, after he came out and said that we were all going to be like pets to the artificially intelligent creatures that we're creating now that we don't have any controls for, they were going to make humans pets once they became smarter than us. I really thought he was looking out for us, but I don't think he is, guys. I don't think he is. My bad. Don't trust any tech billionaires, that's for certain. I don't know, Steve Jobs, maybe at some point, but I don't even know about him. Apple pretty much sold out a lot of its back end when they started manufacturing in China. I had a lot of theories there. There was some gold with those Fitbit thingies that they had going on and being able to suck it off the market. I don't know. There was some weirdness. So let's not get off the topic though. All right, so let's get back to this precision medicine initiative launched in 2015 to kick it off in 2016. Launched with a $250 million investment in the president's 2016 budget, the Precision Medicine Initiative will pioneer a new model of patient-powered research that promises to accelerate biomedical discoveries, meaning, yes, you are going to ink that dotted line just like we looked at with 23andMe. If you check that box, yes, I want you to use my information and research, you now have become part of the guinea pig machine. Most medical treatments have been designed for the average patient, and as a result of this one-size-fits-all approach, treatments can be very successful for some patients, but not for others. So let's capitalize on this egocentric society that we've created, and let's tell patients that if you give it up at a DNA level, we will be able to make treatments specifically for you, Johnny, Janie, Ellie. This is going to be all for you. All you got to do is give us your swab. Let us in on all your secrets. Put on this little skull cap so we can read your thoughts, and everything will be okay. It's beyond scary, people. And we're going to touch on all of those. I have examples of all of it. This is changing with the emergence of precision medicine, an innovative approach to disease prevention and treatment that takes into account individual differences in the person's genes, their environment, and their lifestyle. Stop eating cheeseburgers. It's bad for global warming. Precision medicine gives clinicians tools to better understand the complex mechanisms underlying a patient's health, disease, or condition, and to better predict which diseases will and treatments will be most effective. Now, let me just stop for a second, going back to global warming and don't eat the cheeseburger, Johnny. You guys might appreciate this, though I'm a little bit afraid. School had an assignment about writing about some new thing that they learned about and either write a pro or a con pitch for it. You know, I guess persuasive writing. And I don't know why she picked this, but one day, you guys remember way back, probably 6, 8, 10 months ago, we did a story, and there was a video, too, about the mealyworm farm. All in the name of global warming. You can now farm mealyworms in your little white 21st century Agenda 21 city apartment, and it would be clean. There would be no pesticides. It'd be good for the environment, and it was high in protein, very nutritious, and crunchy, too. Could sprinkle them on a salad, and they had the woman there. I think she was running a Kickstarter, actually. And they had the woman pulling out the drawer, and she showed, like, all the little wormies, and she pulled them out and sprinkled them on her salad, and crunch, crunch, crunch. I showed it to my daughter, and I was like, honey, don't let them ever convince you that eating bugs is the way it was, because it isn't. We eat hamburgers here. Steaks and chickens for everybody, but they're going to tell you that it's causing global warming, and they're going to tell you that eating bugs is good for a sustainable planet. And I'm telling you that we never ate bugs here. It isn't about growing mealyworms in your kitchen, but they want us to. We've had lots and lots and lots of UN videos on Pigmine's channel. It's probably in the insect playlist, I think I put them. But they're all on Agenda 21 and how eating insects is going to be the way of the future for us because it's healthier and it's more sustainable. So she did this, and I should have read it before she handed it in today because I didn't get a chance. It was so crazy this weekend. The project was due today, and she was handing it in about why we should not be eating bugs and why we don't want a mealyworm farm in our kitchen. So I don't know. Make sure you teach your kids, guys. This is not the way the world was. And not that it's, innovation is good, but not pushing us toward this one world order where they're controlling everything. Where is your freedom? Farming was the way the world worked. And we could still farm, and we should all farm. We do not want them controlling everything. Because look at what happens. We end up with genetically modified vaccine tomatoes, potatoes, rice, lettuce, alfalfa, soybeans. It's so disturbing. When we were growing our own food, we knew what was in it. When we were getting it locally from our farmer, we knew who touched it. And now, if you look under the definition of farming, PHARMING, in regards to genetics, you're going to see pictures of smart little dudes that they put through some Ivy League college in a white coat in a big laboratory with green plants as far as the eye can see, with genetically modified pharmaceuticals in a plant. There's a picture out of University of Pennsylvania of the lettuce farms they got going there. They're working on that universal flu vaccine. There were a couple other ones we saw in lettuce. I don't remember, guys. It's so early, but go back. Look at my notes. By the way, anybody who didn't know, if you go to any of the Before the First Cup shows, there's a playlist on YouTube, on the UCY YouTube. YouTube.com/UCY TV. Look under the playlist section. Before the First Cup is there. I think when I looked on Thursday, there were 319 shows there. And that's, I didn't even archive for my first 2 years because I didn't want anyone to hear what I had to say. So that's just the last few years. But for the majority of the last 2 years at least, I have put source material for everything I talk about. So go through there and start looking because, guys, there's so many nuggets. And I'm just trying to dump everything that I have in my brain and everything that I've researched out to everybody because people don't know. But if no one follows up on it and no one digs in, you can parrot what I say, but start digging into the horror because it's way more horrifying than you would even believe. All right, let's jump off of this precision medicine then. So, Obama. Oh, let's go back to Obama for 1 second. One thing I wanted to say about Obama. So, there was a video clip about a year ago. We mentioned Elon Musk, another tech billionaire, falling in line with the feds, trying to sell out humanity. And the one thing that I remember Obama saying in that clip is, we're going to create the Iron Man suit. Or something about Iron Man. Well, now they got Elon Musk doing it. That is the next step to the super soldiers. And now we got precision medicine, where we can now, with Obamacare and this whole federalization of healthcare in the United States, it allowed them to get this electronic health record initiative pushed forward. Everyone can get in a database. They can bag, tag, and track you. Remember, that's what it's all about. They weren't efficient when they were writing it in scribbles that no one could read because your doctor never took penmanship. But once it's in a database, anybody can read it. Anybody can share it. It is now software as a service. They could sell $29.95 a month access to a database because you have this trait, A, B, and C. And you'll be primed for research. So they got us all lined up now, guys. And Obama decided with this precision medicine initiative, and don't forget, we also have the Federal Brain Project, and there's a big global brain project going on as well. Let's learn about all the secrets of the brain, how it works, how we can manipulate and control it. Let's learn about, we have this new, what does he call it? Microbiome initiative from a federal perspective, and we know that they can control bodily functions as well as brain chemicals by being able to control the gut. Bill and Melinda Gates now part of that Synlogics investment to make synthetic gut bacteria. DARPA, of course, and using the soldiers and brain injuries to be able to forward their brain implant studies that now they've spun out to a lot of the universities. We saw for the first time live brain surgery on National Geographic to help treat a Parkinson's patient. With all this dementia everywhere, of course, it isn't all the pharmaceuticals they've been giving you for 20 years. No, we just didn't see like 4 stories about how things like Benadryl and Tylenol PM give you dementia. We haven't heard, I don't know how many shows, Patrick Jordan and Clint Richardson talking about prions. How many times did we talk about BSE, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and prion disease? I just saw too, just recently, that prions can be transmissible through plants as well. Prions are just proteins, but they're misfolded proteins that can get in and make your brain all Swiss cheese. But don't worry about it. We have a brain project going on. We are cracking all of these mysteries, and we are figuring out how to cure them. But that pesky FDA is getting in the way. So by signing yourself up as part of this research, become part of the machine. Give yourself up for the good of the many. It's disturbing. And in the end, what does it come down to? Everybody makes bazillions of dollars. All these pharmaceutical companies end up now with a zero-line item budget titled R&D. Because they don't have to spend $100 million anymore to R&D because it's all free. We got everybody checking that box that they want to be used for scientific research. It makes them feel important. They might be saving somebody in the future. And granted, that's not a bad thing. When my cat ended up with that vaccine-induced sarcoma in his leg, we talked about that. The 3 years rabies vaccine, guys, don't get it in your pets. Long proved. He had that back in late 80s. And already back then, they had a big feeling that it was the aluminum adjuvant in the 3-year rabies vaccine that was causing the sarcoma. Look it up. There's a whole thing on it in Wiki. It's the exact story that I lived. I lived through it. My cat's vet was working with the university. His leg, when it got amputated, got sent to the university to be part of that research study that is now published. And you know what? That made me feel good when they did that. Not that they cut off my cat's leg. That was probably one of the most horrifying decisions I ever had to make in my life. But on the other hand, it made me feel good that out of the bad, something good came out of it. That his leg was contributing to research. But here's the bad news. After all these years, they're still giving that vaccine. They just don't give it in the back of the neck like they used to way back when. They give it in the leg. So if you get a vaccine-induced sarcoma, they could chop it off. Or I don't know, maybe they could try some new experimental cure. Don't think that they're not echoing that in people as well. And I'm not talking about rabies. I'm talking in general. With any of the stuff that causes illness that they probably knew caused problems long ago, they were already starting to see the signs. But you know what? You don't just pull the substance that's causing all the illness. If the illness and finding the cure, quote unquote finding, ends up being profitable. All right, back to the precision medicine. Through collaborative public and private efforts, and yes, this is where all the tech billionaires have been jumping on board, the Precision Medicine Initiative will leverage advanced genomics, emerging methods for managing and analyzing large data sets while protecting privacy. Wink, wink. That's you in the database. And health information technology to accelerate biomedical discoveries. And that's exactly where the tech billionaires have gotten into this whole healthcare, medical, industrial complex that's come out of nowhere. We have companies such as Under Armour partnering with IBM using IBM Watson's cognitive computing to give biostatistics about an athlete's underwear while they're running. All right. Do you really want technology that close to you? They now have this Project Jacquard. Talked about all the new biosensors that are coming. Project Jacquard that first came out of DARPA, and then when that Regina Duggan moved from DARPA to Google and worked on their Moonshots project, she kind of brought it over there. Google partnered with Levi's, and they have now built, and Google, remember, is the parent of Android. They have now built with Levi's some of the first smart clothing. They've launched a smart jean jacket. I don't know if it's on the market yet, but I was just reading a story about it. It's ready to rock and roll. They've been able to weave antennas into the cloth to make you online 24/7. And not only is it going to be online, but it's going to be able to allow you to communicate, like without even using a phone. Rub your arm, beep, beep, call home. It'll be able to also read your biometrics. Intel was already a part of that, working on the new processor. And I don't remember the name of that processor, but they showed it off at the Consumer Electronics Show last year. How this processor that was in this woman's clothing, she was wearing that spider dress, actually could react to her heart rate and whether or not she was perspiring, showing that she was showing nervous or anxious emotions. And when that happened, she had these little spider guards on her shoulders that stuck little, had they been little knives, they would have been knives, but they were legs. They had 8 legs. Bzing. But all I was thinking is, we had first seen that they were working on some of these biosensors in clothing way, 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 way back. In digging into some of the DARPA super soldier Iron Man suit stuff. See, they wanted to use this on the soldiers in the battlefield originally. That's where most of this all starts. It's even where Siri on your iPhone started. Was it DARPA? And now they're rolling it out to the consumer market. But notice they're doing it all fun. Look at how cool it's going to be. You're going to have a smart jean jacket from Levi's with that little orange tag that'll make you cool. But it's going to be utilized for being able to monitor 24/7 under the guise of keeping you healthy and safe. And I am going to get so out of time. We might have to spend the whole week doing this because I dug up so much crap this weekend accidentally just reading stories that I was like, oh, ding, 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 ding. All right, let's read a little bit more. Because precision medicine is being sold now. I mean, you're seeing it everywhere. Every commercial just about is all about, how we can now personalize for you your cancer cure. We now have shape-shifting cancer cures that we can inject in you. Step up and be a part of the study because we'll cure your cancer. I told you it would be a cure for cancer, didn't I? The very first experimental getting into your body with Mad Science Gone Mad was going to be a cure for cancer. We have been hoping for a cure for cancer my entire life. How many aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters have we seen die from cancer? So step right up, Johnny, because here's that cancer-free, genetically modified carrot that'll cure you. Come take a bite, Johnny. And, they didn't even mention in that one document I was looking at earlier with all the edible vaccines, they did not mention the apple, but I ran into that later. And again, the genetically modified apple is on the market right now. I'm sure in another lab, there's probably an apple vaccine. It's just horrifying. Right now, too, those edible vaccines, they're saying, well, yeah, we didn't use them in the United States. It was too easy for them to accidentally get into the food supply. So now we're going to focus on plant-based pharmaceuticals. So they are going to be in the leaves of plants like lettuce and tobacco. But in all of the current edible vaccine research we were reading from 2014 and 2015, it looked like overseas they haven't decided they're not using edible vaccines. And I'm going to tell you, just because they tell us that here in the United States doesn't mean they're not doing it. I don't trust anything these people say. FDA, USDA, all the regulatory agencies are bought and sold lock, stock, and barrel long ago. And don't forget, too, the Monsanto Protection Act that was passed, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, absolves Monsanto from any type of liability or lawsuits ever in the future if GMOs, and remember, edible vaccine foods are all genetically modified. They protect Monsanto from any type of litigation if it is proven that GMOs are unsafe. But hey, a potato is a potato, a tomato is a tomato, and an apple is an apple. And it was decided long ago, rubber stamp it, they don't test it. It just goes on the market. Through collaborative and public and private efforts, the Precision Medicine Initiative will leverage advances in genomics, emerging methods for managing and analyzing large data sets while protecting privacy, and health information technology to accelerate biomedical discoveries. The initiative will also engage 1 million or more Americans to volunteer. Ding! Step right up. We're going to give you long, healthy life. To volunteer to contribute their health data to improve health outcomes, fuel the development of new treatments, and catalyze a new era of data-based and more precise medical treatment. Those very words right there said, we just sold you out, American public, to Biopharma. It's all we got left. The fixtures are all ripped off the walls. Everything's stripped out. We're just on a holodeck now. The pretty pictures are still up. Make sure you pay the electric bill, Barry. So we still can keep seeing the imagery. But that's all we got left. Human capital. They sold us and our data to Big Pharma, and it is mad research gone mad now. All right, what are we spending it on? Well, We gave some money to the National Institute of Health. And yes, not only the National Institute of Health, but don't forget the National Institute of Mental Health got tied into this as well, with Tommy Insel, the director, leaving in October of last year and going to Google. He is now working for Google Life Sciences, Verily. They're going to come up with all kinds of fancy ways to cure mental disease, because remember, we all have a mental disorder, especially if you, with some sort of biosensor, have been determined to be a difficult person. And there's a brand new story on that, developed out of Israel. And don't forget, Israel and the United States have this whole big combined neuroscience project going on. We did that story last year. All kinds of money out of the U.S. flowing to Israel. And the Israeli and the U.S. neuroscientists are working on cracking the secrets of the brain. Obama's 2016 budget will provide money to the National Institute of Health, together with the Food and Drug Administration, as well as the Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology. I didn't even know we had one of those, to support this precision medicine initiative, including $130 million to the National Institute of Health for the development of a voluntary national research cohort. And that was the story I wanted to read. You want to become a cohort? Become a cohort. This whole cohort program is for dumb people stepping up and giving it up. Don't give them a DNA swab. Not if you can help it. That is a biometric that you can't ever change. And once they get your DNA swab, they could do anything with it. You remember that story we did about that woman in New York City who was picking up old cigarette butts and chewing gum and recreating the faces of the people who spit those out just from your DNA swab? That's going into your national dossier. Okay, don't give it up. And I know they probably have it already on every single one of us. They're doing it on all the newborns. And all you got to do is go to your doctor. I mean, how many times does your doctor poke and prod you? All they got to do is grab your glass after you've been in a restaurant. And they got it. They are looking for 1 million or more volunteers to propel our understanding of health and disease and set the foundation for a new way of doing research through engaged participants and open, responsible data sharing. Guys, there's no more privacy. They say, oh, well, we're going to protect your privacy. Just give up all your data and let's make it all public. If you remember, after the Sandy Hook shooting, Obama came out with all of his initiatives, and one of them was to get rid of those pesky HIPAA regulations. I called that out on day one. HIPAA, when I was engineering networks for hospitals and doctors' offices and anything related to healthcare, HIPAA was a big deal. You had to encrypt everything. And when I was having my daughter, I was in the hospital, very sick and dying. They made me ink this piece of paper so they could give my husband updates on my health situation. Because you know what? If you don't ink a HIPAA waiver, they can't share your health information with the insurance company to pay your bills. They can't share your health information with your parents. They cannot share your health information with your spouse or your children unless you've inked that document. Or you've joined some sort of cohort program and given all of your private healthcare data up for free. Now, we found a loophole long ago. I'm sure I could find it again if I had to, but I did put it in the notes in the show. We talked about it, where there is a law that has a big fat loophole where life insurance companies can use your DNA data, to be able to determine your future risk of disease, right? That's another promise of this. To be able to determine whether or not you have defective genes, Johnny, whether or not you have a precondition to being criminal or being an alcoholic, maybe, or having an addictive personality. They can see all those things. as they dig deeper and deeper into genomics, they've been identifying defective genes. We're all defective, but there's a loophole in the life insurance rules where life insurance companies are allowed to discriminate based upon genomic data. Don't give it up. That's just one for now. But how long is it going to be before they get us all in the database? And they'll be able to then run a query. I've been doing database work for years. They can run a query very easily. Once you're in a database, you can slice and dice anything and say, okay, anyone with XYZ QUB's gene, well, you know what? By the time they're 30, they're going to end up having major digestive problems. And, that's going to be a cost that the socialized medicine program can't afford to take care of. So let's mark all of those records for deletion. Boop. How long is that going to be? And it might not be tomorrow, at least outwardly. But guys, this is a really, really ugly, scary road we are going on right now. They will be able to slice, dice, bag, and tag, collate, and then decide, based upon statistics, no emotions involved, and maybe they just give it up to Google's AI or IBM's AI and let them make the decision as to who gets slated for deletion. Because I could guarantee you that is somewhere in our futures. And then eventually, we already were looking at how, they can look at everything you've done back from when you were young. Oh my God, you drank a beer at 14. That's going to damage your future offspring. Oh, you were stressed. You grew up in a poor family. Well, you know what? You're already defective, Johnny. You will not be allowed to procreate. We see that as well. And people are laughing at that. Haha, that's never going to happen. Well, as they get closer and closer to figuring out how to grant longevity and in the future immortality to the people who can afford it, you can't keep having these underlings, these defective humans, reproducing wantonly. First of all, they can't take care of their children properly because, they don't have the income, and so that ruins their genes right off the bat. They don't feed them well. They eat all this garbage food. They drink alcohol laden with glyphosate. It causes damage, but our planet's overpopulated. Wink. And if we're living forever, why would we need more babies, especially defective ones? And you see where this is headed. Right now, we are the R&D line item freebie budget for Big Pharma. They used to spend millions, if not billions of dollars on R&D research every year. Now Obama's giving it all up. Not only did he give us away his free research, as millions of Americans step right up and offer their free information to be able to slice and dice and put in the database and experiment on. But he also is giving federal dollars to all of these different agencies that then are spinning it out to universities and tech companies and big pharma. And not only that, but everything that gets sprinkled out to a university, then we looked at that already. It's happening time and time again. They just spin out a little IPO, start a brand new little company. Everybody invests in it because it's $4 a share and they make bazillions of dollars when it goes up to 50. It's disgusting. They're using our tax dollars to sell us down the river to eventually be eliminated. We won't be needed. There aren't going to be any more jobs, right? They're all talking. Robots are going to take all the jobs. Elon Musk, all the big rich tech billionaires have been talking about that. But hey, the solution is universal basic income. Let's just give everybody free money to sit around and do nothing and be useless eaters. Like that's really going to happen, people. You think that they're going to have all of us just sitting around as they send us checks every month to go buy food and do whatever, and there isn't going to be a cost to that? Remember, I told you, Mr. Feinauer back in 5th grade, one of probably the biggest lessons I ever learned. There is no free lunch. And if it looks like there's a free lunch, then you better start digging to see why there's a free lunch. There's a free lunch because they want something. And right now, it's here, little mousy, mousy, mousy. There's some peanut butter in the trap. That peanut butter is called longevity, precision medicine. We're going to keep you healthy. Please come trust us. We'll take care of you. We've taken really good care of you all these years, popping pills. Here, we'll have a new pill for you. But this one will be painless. You won't even taste it. We have needleless shots now. We have edible vaccines. And soon to be little nanobots in your blood. Or here, take some of these new synthetic biotics. Partially funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Spun out of MIT. And we'll fix everything. Hey, Google's got Ray Kurzweil. And we got Tommy Incel over there, too. And we got the DARPA lady and DARPA Dan. Guys, this is a really ugly picture. And don't worry, too, when you get old and gray, we're going to give you your little helper robot for free to help flip you over so you don't get bed sores. You know, they're selling that to the kids already. They sent home a kid's, I think it was National Geographic on Thursday. My daughter at dinner's freaking out. She's like, Mom, look, you got to check this out. The whole center section was selling the kids on helper robots and how friendly they are and how they can be a friend and they can read you a storybook at night and they can teach you. You know, you won't necessarily even need mommy and daddy at some point in the future, I'm sure. Well, if you guys can even believe it, I only got started. We were just spinning up and it's already an hour is gone. So make sure you stick around. I'm going to cue this up for tomorrow because I want to get into now some of the horrors of precision medicine. Lonnie Clark is live up next. And it is Monday night, so we have a brand new Brandon Turville. Nick and DB are live at 11. All kinds of good stuff. Corbett and our interesting tennis and Tim Kelly also have an awesome Monday. I will catch up with you tomorrow. Everybody take care.